So, namaste, everybody, and welcome to this online forum. What I wanted to do with today's session is really go back to the basics of where to start a practice in the Gitananda tradition. And I kind of did that in the last session, but I realized I was already a few too many steps in. So what I want to do today is just go back to Vajra Asana, because that is the foundational pose for so many of our practices. So if you're able to, and you've got room around you, you might want to just spread out to join me in this practice. What I have done also is brought with me a blanket and a cushion, and that's just in case there are any modifications that you need to make. And I'll talk about those as we go through them. So I'll move back so that you can see me. And can everybody hear me okay if I'm back here? Yep, okay, all right. So let me just start by explaining that Vajra Asana is this seated position where we are on our heels. And in this, we actually want the heels to be underneath our bottom. So we bring them together and then we sit back down onto here. We have another relaxed position called Parivrita Vajra Asana, where the heels come out and we sit down onto the instep. This isn't what we use in our practice. This is like the attention, the active principle, and then the relaxed principle. If you've got weak ankles, then the relaxed position might actually exacerbate that. So what we do want to do is work towards getting these ankles in. Okay. So that's the pose we're talking about today, but we're going to backtrack a little bit because that pose isn't comfortable for all people and it might not be comfortable for very long. So in the first instance, what we want to do is actually take care of our ankles and our knees, particularly. So let's just start with some ankle rotations. So we're really, really stripping it back, going right back to basics. So doing some ankle rotations. And then go back in the opposite direction. And you're better off always moving kind of more slowly to get the full range of movement rather than moving fast and not really inhabiting everything that's available to you. And then go up and down with the feet, pushing. And then I want you to grab hold of your right foot and shake that ankle nice and loose. And then do the same thing with the left foot. Pick it up and shake it. Okay, and then pummel the legs. Bouncing the knees onto the floor. And I always do this, even just if I've come out of a seated pose or Vajra Asana after a little while, I just spread my legs out and I do this, get circulation through. All right, then you might want to either lean back into your hands or take the hands underneath the right knee, remembering we always start on the right side, and just lift and lower that knee. Or you can lean back and you might want to extend out, whichever is the most comfortable for you. And then change sides over to the left. And then take that down. And then bringing your right foot up to the inner thigh, you can just bounce that right knee. And this is working into the ankle, into the knee, and into the hip joint. And then take that out and change sides. Now, some people don't have much flexibility here. So for some people, it might be a matter of actually holding the knee and pulling it up rather than bouncing it down. So it depends on what freedom there is in the hip joint. And then take that out and then bring both feet up together and just again, bouncing the knees and then extending the legs out again. Just again, bouncing. And we're not going right through the whole body today. We're really just focusing on the lower body. So what I want you to do with the right leg is breathe in, squeeze it in, and exhale, kick it out. We're going to do that 2 more times on the right side. Squeeze in, breathe in, and out. A nice big bastrika. And then once we're on the right, we're just releasing any of those tensions, toxins, anything that we've built up, and we're now just getting rid of it. On the left side, breathing in. And again. And again. And again. Just shake the hands off as well. All right. So the next thing I want to do is show you some modifications that you can make if you have difficulty with Vajra Asana. And the first one is you can just take a nice firm blanket and roll it, or you might have a bolster that suits. And this is for people who find it difficult to flatten the top of the foot, to get that angle. If your foot doesn't quite want to open, then this can help to maintain that curve. So what we do is we put the top of the foot over, and that way, and this is even great for people who are getting cramps in their feet. Sometimes people come to class and they might have that flexibility, but just for that day, for whatever reason, their feet are cramping a lot. And so what you'll see here is it just kind of keeps the openness in the sole of the foot and that natural curve over the top of the foot. So this is one way that you can assist yourself in Vajra Asana. And the other way is that you can use a cushion. And this is what I use sometimes if I'm having a long pranayama session and I just want to give my knees a little bit of support. And in this situation, what we do is between the feet, between the heels and the bottom, we place a cushion. And what that does is it gives us just a little bit of room around the back of the knee. And that way, my body won't be distracting me as I'm spending a long time in this practice. So they can be things that are helpful. The other thing that can work is some people aren't able to put that pressure down onto their feet. Either their knees don't give them the flexibility, or there's something in their feet that are not happy with that. So the other thing is you can grab a bolster, and obviously the bigger the bolster, the more support you'll get. And you can put it between the legs. I tend to put it back so it's not in front of my knees. And then I'm actually sitting on the bolster itself. So that way I've got no pressure on the feet. And these are all modifications. And some people come to class and they need to put a blanket under their ankles and a cushion underneath. So you can do multiple. Now, obviously, using props isn't ideal. It's not really what we want. But for some people, that's a starting place, or they're in some kind of rehabilitation, or there's a therapeutic need why, they need to take it easy on their right knee for the next however long. These are just things that support us to make sure we don't stop ourselves doing the deeper practices or the practices because our body isn't happy with anything at any given time. So they're the variations. Now we're going to move into the early steps of the step-by-step course, which are really helpful in developing the mobility and the strength for Vajra Asana. So Vajra Asana is the very first pose that Swamiji teaches in the step-by-step course. So the first one that we have is the Janu. I'll just pull my legs up. Janu, Uttana, Kriya. So we're sitting in Vajra Asana. We're going to let the heels drop out a little bit. Don't try and keep them straight as you do this. And we're lifting the right leg, as we inhale, and we're lowering it as we exhale. And then we'll lift up on the left leg as we inhale and lower as we exhale. So we want a nice, slow, controlled movement. So from the back, you'll see that my foot, it turns out, oh, sorry, you can't see that, but my foot turns out slightly as my knee lifts. you're not going to be able to maintain that straight foot. As my knee lifts, the foot has to roll slightly. My knee lowers and it comes back down. So just bringing the hands into Namaskar. And let's just do 3 on the right knee. Breathing in. Breathing out. 1 more on the right. And then 3 on the left side. Great. So just, if you need to, take your legs out for a moment. Get rid of the tension as you go. Don't wait till the very end. You feel that there's stiffness in the legs or the ankles, then deal with it. And then come back into the practice. So we're going back to Vajra Asana now. But we're doing the Janu Uttana Kriya. So this is the double knee, the same as we just did, but double knee. Some people find it difficult to get the lift. And if that's the case, put your hands down onto the floor as you do it. Otherwise, if you can, hands it into Namaskar. And let's do 3 of these together. So we're just breathing in as they lift. Try not to lean back so much. And lower. Lift. And then once more. Lift. And lower. Great. And then again, give the legs even. Rub the feet, rub the toes, rub the ankles. Just give the body a bit of love. All right. So the next practice I want to bring in that's also good for developing comfort and stability in Vajra Asana is the part of Vajra Kriya. So this is a movement that works with the breath. So let's just talk about the breath and the movement and then put it all together. So the first inhalation is what we've just done. So we inhale, we lift the legs, have the hands down if you need to. And then we exhale and we lower the legs. The next inhalation lifts us up onto our knees, turns the feet under. And then the exhalation sits us back down onto the heels. Then we inhale back up onto the knees, flatten the feet, exhale back down. And that's 1 full round. So let's do 3 rounds together. If you can, hands stay in Namaskar Mudra. Otherwise, use the hands to the floor as you need. So breathing in, knees come up. Breathing out, knees go down. Inhale. Exhale. Oh, no, sorry. Turn the feet under. Exhale down. Inhale up. Flatten feet. Exhale down. And then again, inhale, knees up. So slow and steady. Exhale, out. Inhale, up. Toes under. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Flatten feet. Exhale, back down. And then last time, inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale to knees. Turn feet. Exhale, sit back down. Inhale, up, exhale, flatten the feet, back down, and then just resting the hands. Take a breath in here, and then just let go of any tension. And just sit quietly for a moment. So closing your eyes. And as you sit in Vajra Asana, feeling that length in the spine, that length wants to have lightness in it. So we're not stiffly holding our body up, feeling as though we elongate each vertebrae, each disc into this upward movement. And at the same time as feeling this lightness and lift in the spine, just allow for softness in the flesh, softness in the shoulders, the chest, the abdomen, the jaw, the arms and hands, placing the hands down onto your lap. And just taking some slow, steady breaths. So Durga Pranayama, just nice and slow, mindful breathing. Just feeling the movement of the abdomen, the freedom that we have here in the diaphragm, but also the support that we have in the lower back to keep the spine lifted and long without hardening or pushing. And finishing this practice off, just take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, just allow yourself to lay down onto your left side into Nishbanda Asana. The knees are softened, so we're not having a straight body. Just having time to let go of any tension, any effort. And really appreciate the accumulation of the practice in the body and the being right now. How it feels. When you're ready, you can just use your left arm to start to lift yourself back up to sitting. If you're doing this at home to a recording, feel free to stay longer, to roll over onto your back into Shavasana. And I just wanted to finish this by saying sometimes we can get so motivated perhaps or inspired by the practices that we're doing this and we're doing that, and we can forget to actually just come back and tend the real basics of a practice. And sometimes we need to come back and tend the basics because our body doesn't want us to be doing anything more than that. So just remembering that these things are also really powerful in and of themselves. So thank you for joining me in this session.